It's the Brad and John Show.
It is the Brad and John Show. Today's date is September 8th. It is a Monday. This is the B block, the Bravo block. And John, what do we do in the B block?
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
It's time for Brad's Top 3.
You are so good at that. It cracks me up every time you do that. But you only sing it once, and the ladies sing it twice. Okay, number 3 story. Here we go.
It's number 3.
Sad story. Supposedly, U.S. Steel in Granite City is closing down again. And this is according to stlpr.org. God, those guys that work over at the steel mill in Granite City, it's on and off, it's on and off. And this has to do with, was it Nippon, which has bought into the U.S. Steel? As they originally, the deal was they were going to buy them outright. And didn't Trump sort of put his foot down in that and say, no, you have to make it a partnership or something? Isn't that the way it worked out?
Yeah, I don't remember the details of that. I think that's right, though, Brad.
Okay, sad story. Granite City, and when you say Granite City Steel, it's almost synonymous. That plant has been there for decades and decades and decades, and unfortunately, due to various different ownership changes, it's closed and it's open and stuff like that. Can I just give you one little crazy anecdote? And this is not necessarily
please do, Brad.
Connecting this to Granite City Steel, but I think this is fascinating. Okay, we have the Environmental Protection Agency, which has cleaned up a lot of pollution, okay? But yet the environmentalists say we have to make it to the point where we have no pollution anymore. Years ago, one of my radio buddies, who at the time was the chief engineer for KTRS, which has its transmitter site, I don't know if they're technically in East St. Louis, but they're south of Granite City. And he showed me a photo album that he found at the transmitter site of I don't know if this was done for a publicity shoot or something like that, of all these pictures of the transmitter building. And there was a couple of them where the photographer was shooting from the south to the north. Now, keep in mind, the transmitter site, I believe, is in East St. Louis, and Granite City is to the north of that, okay? The thing that caught my eye was thick black smoke billowing out from Granite City, okay? Now, I say this because of the fact that I'm not an anti-environmentalist. My point being is that it's like everything in life. Some people take things to the extreme. Yes, back in the day, we did pollute stuff. We had, big smokestacks that bilched out all this black smoke. And you drive by smokestacks now, you don't see that anymore. You go out to Labadie, the Ameren UE power plant out there, you don't see black smoking anymore because of the fact that they are running it relatively cleanly. But yet, for the environmentalists, it's never too clean, is it, John?
Yeah, I mean, there's no such thing as spending money on or expending fossil fuels that's okay with that crowd. There's no amount of development that's okay.
And I still think about that picture because of the fact that the picture was taken probably back in the late 50s, early 60s. And when you think about that, you weren't around, John, because you were a much younger guy, but I do remember driving around and seeing some of the big industrial areas of St. Louis, huge black plumes of smoke coming out of the smokestacks. And to the point where the interesting thing is I ran into a guy, and this is a crazy, weird story. I ran into a guy, of all places, in Mobile, Alabama. I went to the USS when I was driving down to see my son. I was sitting in a parking lot there. I went to take a look at the USS Alabama, which is right there on Mobile on the Gulf Coast. There's a whole museum down there, and they have a bunch of military equipment. Matter of fact, the reason I stopped was as their gate guard, which is, what a gate guard is, military installations. It's usually it could be a cannon. Most of the time it's like an aircraft. Their gate guard is an F4, which I thought was interesting because that F4 was built right here in St. Louis. And the guy who parked right next to me with his kids and his wife, and he looked at my car and he says Missouri plates, and he says, "Hey, I'm from Missouri." And I go, "Really?" Turned out he works at the Labadie power plant out there. And I said,
yeah, nice.
And I said to him, I said, I drive by there all the time when I'm going back and forth my transmitter site because it's right across the river from where the KSLQ transmitter site is. And we talking about this and talk about that. And we got talking about, how things have changed through the years. And he made the comment that they still get nasty calls in the winter. People going, "You got all that smoke coming out of your smokestack and you're polluting."
But it's not, because what is it, Brad? You've told the story on the air before. What did he say that it actually is?
It's steam. It's not
That's right.
smoke.
It's funny because when you started talking about this, I wasn't sure if I had heard that story from somebody I knew from Ameren or if I had heard it from you. But that was your story about the people call and say, you guys are polluting when it's actually steam in the winter.
Yes, he says when it gets real cold and the essentially the pollutant or whatever it is, stuff coming out of the smokestack, it's clean, you can't see it. But because it's hot, when it hits the cold air, it turns to steam. And he says every year, he says typically the first couple days we have cold temperatures and you can see the steam, people are calling and complaining, you're polluting the environment. But of course, some people would say, well, you're global warming. By the way, I have a new term what I've come up with, but I'm not going to say it yet.
Yeah, what's that, Brad?
Because I got to buy the domain name first. Okay, we're ready for number 2.
Yeah, let's do it.
It's time for Brad's number 2. It's time for Brad's number 2.
There is an article in the St. Louis Post-Dispatch this morning, which just the headline tells you everything you need to know. The headline says, Special School District is transferring teachers to North County. Half of them are quitting.
Wow. I didn't see that, Brad. Is that like a Blythe Bernard story?
Let me see if I can find it again. I'm thinking to myself, and the reason, I don't mean to be funny, but John and I are both North County boys, and John won't go back to North County. I go there all the time. Matter of fact.
Yeah, and I'm going to interrupt, Brad. Remember, and when Dale at Spanish Lake Barbershop was still there, I went back once a month. So I just have no reason to go back there now. I don't buy cheap lawnmowers or junk off Facebook Marketplace and go to North County to pick it up. So that's the difference between us.
It's by your friend Monica Obradovic.
Okay, yeah.
And it's now, if you go to St. Louis Post-Dispatch, it's moved its way up. It is now the feature story, the top story on the STLtoday.com website. Special School District reassigned teachers in North St. Louis County. Half of them quit. John, why would that be? Why would that be, John?
I think here's why. I think that a lot of times teachers in North St. Louis County, if you're in Ferg Floor or you're in Hazelwood or even in Pattonville, I think you're intimidated by the intellect of students in the former Suburban North Conference. And I think you feel like you have nothing on the calculus side or the literature side to teach these young scholars.
Don't you think that's sad?
I do. Yeah, but I mean, I think it's reality. Do you think that those same people would want to go teach in St. Louis City? Of course not. You're going to go to Rockwood. You're going to be Paul Brown, your friend and mine, and you're going to want to go to Orchard Farm, and you're going to want to teach at a civilized school district.
He's not teaching. He's just doing the...
Well, you get the point. You mentioned that he was a sub for many years in those districts, Brad. You don't need to nitpick.
Francis Howell. He was in Francis Howell.
Right.
Yeah, okay. I think this is sad because I think this is like piling on. You know, and let me tell you something. A guy who, you know, if I were going to buy a house, you know where I'd buy a house, John?
Would you buy it in Kinloch?
See, you're laughing about that, but I'd love to live in that area. I mean, because you're right off 170. See, the crazy thing about it is, the thing that's frustrating to me is my ex-sister-in-law, I guess she's my ex-sister-in-law because I'm no longer married to her sister, but my ex-sister-in-law lived in a house on North Hanley, okay? And their house got eminent domain by the airport. It was part of the deal when they expanded the airport, okay? And they told them, nothing ever will be built here. Do you know what's happened to that area to the north of the airport, John?
What's happened,
Or
Brad?
actually, the east of the airport. It's got all sorts of expensive, distribution centers that are being built there, all over the place. And to the point where the same thing we're talking about on the west side of the airport, where they took out the Carrollton subdivision. See, they lied. And I said this all along. People made fun of me. I said, instead of moving those people out because of, quote, noise abatement, I say, give those houses to the deaf people. Let them live out there. You know, give them a nice...
Yeah, that's very thoughtful of
right?
you,
No,
Brad.
seriously. You're laughing at me. Think about it for a minute. If it's noisy, put people there that don't have hearing. And they're going like, I don't hear anything because I'm deaf.
Yeah, and it would be like those same people that you referenced in A-Block complaining about the lights. Move blind people there. Brad, I had no idea that you were so sensitive to the needs of folks that are blind and deaf. I mean, they're generally the kind of women that you target for dating.
John,
but I didn't know that you were so thoughtful about airport people.
John, that's what my mom did. My mom, when she went to Washington University, I don't know if it's still associated with Washington University, but they had at the time, a very groundbreaking center called the Central Institute for the Deaf. My mom taught there because that was my mom's.
Yeah, and she first heard about that place because she heard it on the radio. She was a big fan of radio.
No, she wasn't. She
Did you
hated
see
the
over
radio.
the weekend? I don't mean to step and take up your time here, Brad, but did you see who the newest hire at Washington University is?
No, who's that?
Tashara Jones.
Oh, I did see that. And did you see?
Yeah, I kind of thought that might be in your top 3, Brad.
Did you see
And
that?
I told you, not to say I told you so, but I told you after Tashara lost, she would get a great gig doing something somewhere where she didn't have to do a lot of work. Here you go.
Did you see the Elliot Davis thing? Well, you don't look at Facebook, but
No.
Elliot Davis put a nice comment about Tashara Jones on his Facebook page, and he just got toasted with all the negative comments. And,
Oh, no.
and he wrote a great big long post about, and it was sort of interesting. He said he has a lot of respect for her because she was the first black African-American mayor in the city of St. Louis. And he talked about in his Facebook post that I don't remember this, but the Tashara Jones, when he retired from Channel 2, they had a special Elliot Davis Day in the city of St. Louis. And he has the signed proclamation framed on his wall in his living room. Because I have to tell you that is sort of a cool thing. We used to have a proclamation from, believe it or not, from who was it? I think it was from Bob Onder. It was somebody. I can't remember who it was.
And who's we? Who's the pronoun we in this story?
Shelley and I, because we were like in 19. See, this is an interesting story. In 2016, we were the Small Business of the Year in O'Fallon, and we went before the O'Fallon City Council. We had I think we had Steve Ellman was there and gave us a nice plaque and the whole bit. And Shelley had all this stuff, and I think she lost it all. We had a proclamation from, I want to say it was from Bob Onder, or maybe it might have been from Luke DeMeyer, because he was at the time he would have been the state rep or the U.S. rep. Anyway, it was a big deal. And what's interesting about it is, hold on, I get clear my voice. To give you an idea of how we are not appreciated, that has all been scrubbed from the web because of the fact that I tried to update our Wikipedia page. Again, John doesn't think I do this. I tried to update our Wikipedia page, and how you have to list citations. We were the Small Business of the Year award for O'Fallon in O'Fallon for 2016. I can't find it anywhere. It's
Well,
gone.
that doesn't mean it was scrubbed. It just means that page is no longer active.
No,
if anybody knows about domains going by the wayside, it's you.
Okay, we ready for number 1?
Yeah, let's do it.
Hold on a minute. What did I do? Oh, now I got it. Okay, here we go.
And now, big finish, Brad's number.
A story I read over the weekend, which to me was very sad. Do you know Mansion House downtown? Remember Mansion House? Do you know what Mansion House was all about?
I had a friend that lived in the Mansion House. It was great because I could park in this place for free.
At the time, and John, let me ask you this. Your friend lived in a Mansion House. How long ago was that?
He lived there in the year of our Lord 2000 and 2001.
Okay. And still, at that time, that was a swanky address. Am I kidding or not?
Oh, it was a nice place. Yeah, very nice. You're centrally located in downtown. It was beautiful.
Right. And what it originally was, it was 3 towers. They were 3 apartment complexes, 3 condo. I don't know if they were condos at that time. I think they were just apartments. And at the time, very, very, very high end. And can I give you a little bit of St. Louis trivia?
Yeah, please do.
The movie, George Clooney movie, Up in the Air, where you familiar with this, which was parts of it were shot here in St. Louis. Do you know about the fact that he supposedly, and this is the thing, because if you look at the movie, you can pick up certain landmarks. They show him going to his apartment, which he hardly ever went to. It was in Mansion House. Did you know that?
I did not know that, no.
Yeah, he had, and when they had the interior shots were actually done at Mansion House in downtown St. Louis. Okay, the article in the paper was, keep in mind, 3 towers. Once upon a time, these were built, I believe, in the late 50s, early 60s, maybe just the early 60s. And it was a part of the revitalization of downtown with the arch and the whole bit, all the stuff that's going on in the St. Louis in the 60s, in downtown. Crazy stuff, new things going up and down. People are moving to downtown again. Do you know only one of those 3 towers has anybody in it anymore? Did you know this?
No, what is it being used for?
Well, the article in the St. Louis Business Journal talks about that the Mansion House, and they've renamed them. They were essentially called the 3 Mansion House Towers. One of them has been designated Gentry's Landing, and the other one, which originally was a apartment building as well too, was converted into a hotel, which is now bankrupt. So of the 3 towers, there's only one of them who have people in it, and they are trying to get funding to rebuild Mansion House, the only one that's still called Mansion House, and renovate it back into an apartment building. So the thing that got me was, I'm thinking to myself, okay, I didn't realize this. Another downtown hotel that's abandoned, because we got the Millennium, which is right across from Busch Stadium, which is vacant, which was recently supposedly sold. We've got the Mansion House, which I can't remember the name of this. I think it was called City Place Hotel or something like that. And all these places downtown, and this, one of them was apartments, one of them was a hotel. Nobody's in it. They're abandoned. Isn't this sad, John?
Yeah, but so let me ask you this, Brad. When you say they're trying to get funding, are they looking for city or like an RCGA type of group to give funding? Or are they looking for a private investor to come in? Do we know?
If you read the St. Louis Business Journal article, I would say a combination of all of them. They're looking for tax abatements. They're looking for funding from government. They're looking for private funding from the banking community, and I think the investors who have bought it are looking for that as well too. Now, add that to the fact that we've got the old AT&T building, which, if memory serves me correctly, doesn't that building have 1 million square feet of floor space in it? Wasn't that the story?
Yeah, and it was purchased for almost nothing. You mentioned this within the last couple of weeks,
Yeah,
Brad.
like $6-7 million. This is sad. My dad used to work in downtown St. Louis. My dad talked about that when he went out for lunch, the sidewalks were shoulder to shoulder. People were everywhere in downtown St. Louis. As a young boy, my mom and dad used to take me downtown during Christmas to look at the beautiful displays in the windows of Famous and Bar. Famous and Bar used to have all their windows done in their Christmas themes and stuff like that. And I can remember, in my radio career, I can remember being a part of at the time I was doing my traffic network and I was doing some freelance engineering work. I was hired by Y98 to help do the huge remote broadcast for the opening of St. Louis Center, which was a huge deal. Huge deal. Guess what happened to St. Louis Center? It's empty now, too. The Famous Bar building is empty. The Stix-Bear and Fuller building, I believe, is still empty. I think somebody's trying to redo that. And remember, we talked about that not too long ago with that investor that had all the different office buildings downtown that he declared bankruptcy on, with the 555, what was that, the 555 Olive building, whatever it was.
Yeah, you're right, Brad.
I mean, what the hell? I mean, this is the sad thing with the city of St. Louis. It's like, in my lifetime, once upon a time, back when I was young, back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, when I was a young guy, it was like the place. Now, nobody wants to go there. There in North County, the special school district teachers say, don't want to go to North County, and nobody wants to go downtown. You know what, John? I think I'm going to buy my someplace in downtown and move there. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's totally viable. And I think we could look at other downtrodden areas. Like, did you hear about this mall that they tore down in Chesterfield?
John, every time I go by there, it's sad because you still...
I know. Well, you cry because you used to play pickleball there with Nancy and Barbara and other people with old lady names, and now you can't even play pickleball there.
John, I've never played pickleball in my life.
You used to play with Carol, right?
No, I've never played. So, okay, throw some other names out there from my generation. Debbie, lots of...
Oh, Joan.
Well,
You're definitely hanging out with Joan. Joan and Barbara go there a lot. Carol's there. Have you ever seen Brenda there, Brad?
Melissa. There was a bunch of Melissas.
Yeah, now Melissa's kind of getting into my territory. Melissa's almost like a Jennifer or a Jessica. Those are good 1970s names.
Well, I was just going to say I had several Jennifers I went to school with. You know,
wow, really?
That was one of my names. Yeah.
Wow, that's surprising. I thought you were way too old for that.
No. There were some Jennifers in my day. Now they're all, what's the names like? What I heard. Matter of fact, they've got a fill-in lady on the show that comes on right after we're on the Armstrong and Getty. The news lady is out for some medical reasons, and they have a younger. She sounds very young, and her name is Jensen. I thought to myself, that's a cool name.
That's clearly a last name, like a family name that people think sounds hip as a girl's name.
Well, that's the only problem, because if you're Jensen, okay, you were a boy or a girl, because it doesn't really say, have it, but that would be the perfect name for some of the transgender people, because they wouldn't have to change their name.
Yeah, non-binary to be specific.
Right, okay.
Get it right.
We have to take a break.